Hey booktube, I'm the Book Mage, welcome back to my channel, and to the first in what is potentially, hopefully, going to be a new series going forward. And that's going to be my version of what is like a combination of the try a chapter challenge, I don't know why I find that so hard to say, and the like read it or unhaul it challenge. So my main inspiration for doing this were the videos by Emily from Books with Emily Fox. She does a series over on her channel where she has like, I think pretty much like every book she owns written down on like a piece of paper in like a big giant jar, and she'll draw from it and either read it or like unhaul it, DNF it, finish it, and it's just an aim to get books read and off of your shelves, especially books that like maybe you haven't thought of in a long time or picked up in a long time. I haven't done that exactly. What I've done is I've kind of looked at all the books that I've got on my TBR that I don't think I will ever really reach for unless I am forced to do so. So anything that like I'm excited for or that's new or that like I'm hauling currently is not going to be here. This is like the kind of rejects pile. This is, I recently did a video where I went through a lot of my TBR or like just a lot of my owned books in general to do like a big unhaul, and anything that was kind of like on thin ice I kind of put on like a bit of a bookish chopping block, and I said, look, I will put these aside, I'll give them a go, I will attempt to read them, I will try a chapter, is what I said at the time, and after a chapter, if I don't like them, I'll pretty much just have to unhaul them and get rid of them to make more space for like the books that I actually do want. Because like, I don't know if you can see the size of the stack yet again, I have a space issue, and so that's kind of what's fueling this, is my need for space, which is not being helped by my book buying habits. So the way that I'm going to be doing this is I'm pretty much just going to be picking the name of a book out of a cup, and whatever comes out is the book that I will have to read. And my aim here is to either like something or get rid of it, because a lot of these books I just don't know if I'm going to like them or not. I'll be honest, a lot of them are like subscription box books that I don't have much information on because I didn't pick them myself. But I do want to be like easy on myself, and so I kind of have like a few caveats to this challenge, which, I mean, it's for me and my reading and my books, so like, if you don't like them, there is nothing you can do about it. And the caveats are that I am absolutely a mood reader, so if I read the first chapter of a book and I think it's good, but I just don't really want to read it at that moment in time, I am going to allow myself to like put it back for a later date to pick up when I actually feel like reading that. I really don't want to find a book that I think could be good but that I just don't really want in that moment in time. One other thing is that I do have a lot of books in storage, and I think I know where all my books are, but if it turns out that a book I pick is like in the attic, boxed up, I think I'm just shit out of luck. So other than that, I think they're the only caveats. Like, my aim is to read this book either until completion or until I get to a point where I say I don't want it, I'm gonna not read this, and therefore I'm going to unhaul it, even if it's a lovely pretty special edition. That is the aim, and my hope is that whenever I kind of maybe don't know what to read next, or I just feel like picking up something just at random, I might like dip in and out of this challenge. I don't have like a set goal for the year of how often I want to do this, but I do want to make it kind of like a semi-regular thing going forward. So you might get 3 or 4 videos for the year, or you might get like 10. I don't know at this point. With this being the first in like the series, I did just kind of want to explain like how I'm sort of tailoring this to fit my reading habits. I'm not going to do this at the start of every time I film one of these videos. So at this point I have actually already gone through like all of my owned TBR and added them into like a little cup. I think it's like exactly 50 books, and that was a whole process. So again, just for the sake of this being the first video, I am going to include that footage of me like telling you exactly what I'm putting in here. I personally just think it's better if you know what books I have a chance to pull from. I just think it makes it more interesting. If you don't want to watch that specifically, like, I have everything timestamped below so you can just like skip to the actual vlog part of this video if you feel like it. But if you do feel like knowing what's going in the cup, here is that kind of hectic footage. Hello, it's me from the past. So you join me once again on my bedroom floor. I'm with the stack, which is just like further evidence of why I need to do something like this. And also, my hair is awful, so that's why we've got the mage hood up. It's floor time, don't expect class. So I kind of wanted to include this in the first video. I mean, like, I figured I'm going to do it, I might as well film it. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through my list of books that I've kind of put on the chopping block, and I'm going to be writing them down on like these series of like little paper slips, which I don't know if I have enough of, but if not, I'll just cut some more. And we're going to be putting them into my nice shiny little Hellfire mug. I swore that somewhere I had a D20 shaped mug, and I cannot find it. So this was as close as I could get. I mean, it says roll for your life, and like this is going to be a game of chance, so like it's thematic enough, but I wanted that D20 mug and I don't know where it is. And I kind of wanted to include this in just like the first of these like videos, because this is going to be a series of videos. Basically every time I like pull something from here and like read one of the books as part of like a vlog, I guess. I just feel like it's better if you guys know what is in here and like kind of maybe some of them why it's in there. And whenever I do like a new haul, I think I'll try and let you guys know when I haul something, probably from a subscription box, let's be honest, that's going to end up going in this mug as well, just so that you guys always know like what I have a chance to pull from here. There's no amount of tilt I can give the camera where like you can actually see me writing, so for the most part this is just going to be mainly audio. But if you have something else that you want to do where you don't have to like pay attention to the screen, now would be a good time. I think I've got about 50 books to put in here, so we might be here a little while, but I don't think I'm going to give reasons for every single book. I'm going to start out with my first slip. So the first one on my list is Graceling, and this is the book that I did buy for myself, but like, I think it's YA. I think I might like the idea of it, but also I kind of don't want to like it because there is no way for me to get matching editions of this book, and I don't want that issue in my life. So it's going in. And I'm hoping this is the kind of pen that does not smudge, because I also don't want to deal with that, but yay. There's the first one in. Okay, the next book I'm putting in is Library of the Dead. I think this is by T.L. Hutchew. It's probably behind me somewhere, actually. I actually bought the sequels to this book, but like I don't want to keep buying the sequels if I haven't read the first one yet. It looks amazing, it's a special edition, but like it's set in Scotland and I have some Scottish related PTSD. That's not even a joke. I'm hoping these don't like all unfurl once I start putting them in. The next one going in is Realmbreaker. I think that's by Victoria Aveyard. Main reason, it's YA. So, I'm also putting in Hand of the Sun King and Shield Maiden, City of Dusk. Honestly prepared to see like basically every single Fairy Loot book I own go into this pot. If you think I'm exaggerating, I'm so not. Next one is Bloodstained Tea. I think that's an indie book that I got quite a while ago. Started it, but I was in a bad headspace, so if I didn't put it in this pot, I would just unhaul it, but I'll give it another chance. Book of Night, Angel Mage, The Sunderlands, which I am convinced is Dragon Age fanfiction. Also definitely written by an American that probably did not know that there is a place in the UK called Sunderland. The Stormcaller, Duskfall, Darien Empire of Salt. One that I did buy for myself, but like it's been on my TBR for forever, and I never think about it. To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, Christopher Paolini. I want to give this a try, but I also I don't feel excited about it, so. The Vanished Queen, The Book of Tokyo, Son of the Storm, The Unbroken. Again, like, I like the cover. I bought this one for myself, but I think I've heard mixed things about it, so like, I'm just not hype about it, so read it or get rid. The Gauntlet and the Fist Beneath, Age of Ash, The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, Song of Silver, Flame Like Night. I feel like I need a bigger piece of paper for this one. Infinity Gate, Lies We Sing to the Sea. That one I think is the one that, it was like based on the Odyssey, but I'm sure the author said that she'd never read the Odyssey or anything about the Odyssey, and I just sort of like picked it up from like vibes and other retellings. Just make it something else, oh my god. Some Desperate Glory, Dragonfall. This one was a Goldsborough book, but like, it has a dragon in it and on the cover, but I'm pretty sure part of the plot is that the dragon is trapped as like a human guy. That is such a tease. Do not, like, I want a dragon. I don't want a man, I want a dragon. So you can go in the cup. Perilous Times. That's another Goldsborough one. And again, I think it has like a dragon in it, but it's modern day, and I don't know if it's going to be like a quirky and weird. I'm not sure what to expect. The Curse of Saints, another Fairy Loot book. Oh, You Die When You Die. I bought this book because the title made me laugh. I mean, I think the plot did also sound good. Can't quite recall, but like, you do in fact die when you die. The Meaning of Night. This is definitely one that I picked up second hand, and I can't remember why I bought it. I remember like what it's about. It's really long as well. I don't know what possessed me to, maybe I was just in the mood for having eclectic taste, but like, let's be honest, I don't. I like fantasy. Priest of Bones. Another one that like, it sounds interesting. I picked this one for myself, but also, how long has it been on my TBR? At least now it has a chance of getting read. Immortal Longings. I mean, I'm never going to pick it up if it doesn't come up in this cup, so. Once. I think it's by James Herbert. Another one I picked up secondhand. I think like right at the start of my channel, I was just buying like cheap secondhand books because it was like all that I could afford. And just anything that sounded like it might even remotely be my taste. I think this has fairies in it. I think it's like a gothic fairy book, but it might be very explicit. I've heard the author writes a lot of explicit stuff, but it definitely predates all like the book talk type of spice stuff, so haven't unhauled it yet. Also haven't read it yet. Scarlet. I like that this has vampires in it, but it also has Marie Antoinette in it, and it's never been my thing. Ink Blood Sister Scribe. I guarantee I'm not going to read this. I guarantee I'm going to pull it out, read the first chapter, and DNF it. I know that this book isn't for me, but I'm giving it a fair shot anyway. The Atlas 6, Study in Drowning. Another one, I know I'm not going to like it, I know I'm not going to read it, I don't want it. I have 2 copies, so like, I'll put it in the cup. The House of Marion. It's something like Zara Guardians of Dawn, or maybe it's Guardians of Dawn Zara. It's one of them. It's this one. Next is The Jasad Heir. This one sounded really interesting when I picked it out, but again, I'm not sure how adult fantasy it's going to be. I'm also not sure how high fantasy it is, and I think it might have like a heavy romance plot, so could go either way. Okay, then we have Shanghai Immortal. I think this one might have vampires in it, maybe? I know one of them on here does, but like, when am I ever going to reach for it if I don't put it in here? The Sun and the Void, The Red Scholar's Wake. Okay, Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. I think this might be the only series continuation on here. I've just had this sitting around for years. I have 3 copies of this by accident. I just kept forgetting that I already got it. Also putting in The Water Outlaws. It might be one of the ones in here that I'm most likely to enjoy because it's an actual adult fantasy, but something about it just gave me like vibes that it might be a bit samey to a lot of other stuff that I already have. Nothing about it sounded bad. It just kind of washed over me. It's like, I'm never going to pick it up, so I've put it in here so it actually gets a chance of being picked up at some point. Next we have Son of Blood and Ruin. After the Forest. This is a Hansel and Gretel retelling. Doesn't sound bad, but when am I ever going to reach for it? Then we have The Gilded Crown. I've pretty much just got this one. It sounds fine. This is just to make sure I actually pick it up. And then the last one, so I think I've done exactly 50 books in here, which is very pleasing to my brain. And even better, I have the exact right number of like little paper strips. I somehow cut exactly 50. Subconsciously, thank you brain. It can't do anything else, but apparently it can do this. So the last book is Starling House. I know this is really well liked, and a friend gave it 5 stars, and I've just hauled it, and like, it's a lovely addition. I just don't think I'm necessarily going to reach for it without being told to. So I now have a little mug full of 50 different, not to be all Twilight book cover or anything, but like, this is how many we have, and I kind of just want to like mix them up a little bit. Just because this way, it's not like in the order that I put them in. Now I have no idea where anything is. I'm also just gonna like give it a shake. So that's my little lucky or unlucky mug. So now it's all nice and ready for me to go, and it means that when I actually go to start this challenge, I won't have to sit down and do this first, because when I want to do it, I just want to be able to do it. So now it's all prepped and ready, and maybe I'll kind of forget what's in there, so like it might be a bit of a fun surprise, for me anyway. Not for you, because it's going to be in like 30 seconds. So that is everything that I could be picking from. I feel like it's very heavily fairy loot, to be honest. And like, who knows which one of these little things I'm gonna pick. For me, whenever the hell I do this, but for you, in the next clip. So, exciting, so much chance, so much possibility, so much room for potential DNFs. Let's not think like that, let's think positive, let's go see what I end up picking. So this is my little cup, all full of like, potential reads and possibly potential DNFs. I'm kind of nervous now. I have at this point forgotten a bunch of what's in here. This might also be a bit of a surprise for me, so I am going to pick one now. Let's see what I'm going to be reading for hopefully not too long of the foreseeable future, because I have new releases I want to get to. So okay, I should have thought through like the ring situation. Like this fucking bird ring, I can't get my hand in any further, but I have one. So I don't know if I can like show you guys first. I literally don't know which way up. I'm assuming it's this way. What is this? Oh, it's Dragonfall. It's Dragonfall, which I think is by, is it R.L. Lamb? I think the cup has been kind to me for giving me a book with dragons in it. This I think is it's a fantasy. I think it's a high fantasy. What I think I know about this is that it does feature dragons, but the dragon is trapped in the physical form of just like a human man, which I can't say the word that I want to say. I'm gonna go find it. I think I know where it is. I don't know how to express, like, this is behind like my TV unit. I'm pretty sure it's like this one. This is so hard to get to. My bed is in the way. I'm currently like fucking, I feel like Indiana Jones here. Like, this is so hard. This is literally my ceiling So you can tell that I was not expecting to get to this book anytime soon, but here it is. I'm actually kind of tired after that. I did manage to grab it though. So this is Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. I was close. This is the Goldsborough special edition. It does have like this really nice gold dragon foil. Obviously though, this was one sent to me by a subscription, so not one that I'd picked up myself or like heard of before I unboxed it. Now, I love dragons. I love dragon fantasy. I have a feeling this is romance heavy. It says the last male dragon, a desperate thief, a bond that will save the world or shatter it. And I think when I first read that, I had assumed it would be like a dragon rider type bond, but the guy is, I'm so sure he's trapped in like the body of a human. So let me read to you this very long synopsis. Long ago, humans betrayed dragons, stealing their magic and banishing them to a dying world. Centuries later, their descendants worship dragons as gods, but the gods remember and they do not forgive. See, so far that sounds good, but like, I know what's coming. Since they were orphaned, Arcady has scraped a living thieving on the streets of Vatra, dreaming of life among the nobility, and revenge. When the chance arises to steal a powerful artifact from the bones of the Plaguebringer, the most hated person in Lumet history, they jump at it, for its magic holds the key to their dreams. But the spell has unintended consequences, and drags Everin, the last male dragon, who was once foretold to save his kind, into the human world. Trapped and disguised as a human, Everin soon realises that the key to his destiny, and to regaining his true power, lies in Arcady. All he needs to do is convince one little thief to bond with him completely, body, mind and soul, and then kill them. Yet the closer the two become, the greater the risk both their worlds will shatter. And this is the first in a trilogy, so like, if I like this, I'm committing to like a whole new series. I don't know, from the synopsis I'm getting the vibes that the main character might be non-binary, which like, that could be a plus because I don't see that done often in books. It feels like the kind of thing that I should see more in fantasy, but oh, and I really like I have number 1777 and I really like the number 7, so like, I feel like this is like, maybe I should like this, like I should like this. It has dragons, it's a fantasy, it's a lovely edition, and it has a map as well, although I'm getting very much YA fantasy from the map. I guess this is what I'm reading. So my plan is I'm gonna go away, I'll read the first chapter. Like, I've not done this before, so like, maybe I'll check in during the first chapter if there's anything like especially good or just egregiously bad, but otherwise I'll check in at the end of the first chapter and let you know if I'm going to continue or DNF this. I really want to give it like at least one whole chapter, but sometimes that's not enough, so maybe I'll continue reading more, and who knows, maybe I will love it and I'll finish the whole thing. That would be the ideal, but I will let you guys know what happens. So I don't know how long the first chapter is, but like, give me like 5 or 10 minutes and I'll let you know. Hello, so I'm actually now 2 chapters into this book. The reason being, not because I found it like massively entertaining, but the first chapter was told from one character's perspective, the dragon, and the second chapter was told from what I think is the main character's perspective. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. The first chapter, I would have definitely liked to DNF it, and if I hadn't noticed that chapter 2 went on to a completely new character, I probably would have just DNF'd it. The first chapter is from the dragon's perspective, and it is very short, but like, it's not great. Actually, I'll tell you where I wanted to DNF it. It wasn't even chapter 1. It was this epigraph, which is like kind of setting this up as like it's written from like a fictional character, as though this is an account of like a history of something that has already happened in this world that's now being written by like a fictional historian or something. I hated how that was written so much. It was so tedious and annoying, and like, it's like 15 lines long, and I wanted to throw this book away. Like, I don't know what it is about stuff like this when you just get like a list of gods. There's just 5 gods, and I just feel like we just went through and gave them all names of various syllables. Like, they don't seem to mean anything. It's like, oh, just, you know, like if you just made up random fantasy-ish sounding names off the top of your head in a few seconds. It feels like that, and I'm like, do these 5 gods have purpose? Do they have like a point? They don't seem very in-depth. Like, when I get that level of just like very bad, very generic, very surface level sort of like fantasy world characterization, it just puts me way off. And the first chapter, like, how are you going to make the perspective of a dragon just seem ugh? I think it's because it might just be the character, but they seemed very childish and kind of not arrogant, but like when a child wants to have their own way and is like disobedient but like smug about it. I hate that. I do not like characters like that. Yeah, I really did not like the first chapter, but the second chapter is the main character kind of like breaking into a tomb, I guess. I'm so 50-50 on it, because the events of what's happening, this character breaking into a tomb, and they have magic, and it's kind of explaining like a little bit about their backstory, and the thing is, what I'm hearing appeals to me. Like, I like this whole breaking into a tomb, the magic use. In a roundabout way, what I've learned about the world so far is interesting. However, I hate the execution of it. It's a really egregious example of this person just telling and not showing. It's literally just explaining to me for no reason, like with no, it's just telling me how the world works with absolutely no, there's no vessel for this information. There's no reason I'm being told this in the book other than the author needs me to know how their world works, and the text literally just says, this is what happened in the past and this is how the world works. And so it breaks off like every other paragraph. It'll be the character doing something and then like paragraphs about the world, and it's so random, because sometimes it's part of the character's past, like something that personally happened to them and how they got to this point in time and like their history and their motivation as to why they're doing this thing that they're doing. And then the rest of it is stuff like they're talking about like the last monarch, installation of a council of 3 chancellors, and like what they did to like the coins and how the currency looks, and how these like magic, they wear like these little, I've forgotten the word for it, but it's like a little magical device that they wear around their neck, I think like a necklace. This would be mine, I guess. And like it's explaining like how those work, and I'm sure it just has to like get this all out of the way so that you understand the state of this world going forward. But it's not ham-fisted, it's not anything. It's like, it's not the character thinking it in their own head, they're not saying it to anyone, it's literally just the author writing this down for the reader, and I think that's what irks me about it. I'm not learning this in any sort of natural way, it's not coming up naturally through the story, it is just like an info dump, an exposition dump, but it's not even like one character saying it to another, it's just there, it's just purely in the narration. And I'm totally in two minds of it, because I really hate that opening paragraph. However, I think if I had sat and read a Wikipedia article or something about the book that explained the world in the exact same words as used here, and it was just like a fan wiki or something, I feel like it would be fine and it would be quite intriguing, and I would be interested to learn about this world and like what's going on with this character. I just feel like the execution of it in a book, like in the actual story on the page, is poorly done. I think that is the best way to make sense of it here. So I don't think I want to give up on this just yet. As much as I hate the way it's giving the information to me, I am intrigued and I would like to know more, and I think the main characters are about to meet now, and I feel like their dynamic and how they interact is probably going to be the deciding factor as to whether or not I can continue with this book, because if I find their interaction annoying, I'm not going to want to read it. And I'm especially worried about the dragon character, because as much as I like dragons, I really did not like his character in the first chapter. So that's where I'm at. But so far, I mean, how many pages in am I? I've made it 21 pages in and not DNF'd it yet, which is further than I thought I would get. I guess that's a bonus for this book. And I know I said I thought this was going to be YA, and the first chapter came off very YA, but to be fair, the language in the second chapter made me think that this could be leaning more towards adult. It's not quite as complex as like a lot of adult fantasy yet, but I don't know, I have hope that it's not going to be too juvenile, so I suppose it's a good thing that I'm not DNFing this immediately at the start of the vlog, because if I did, I would just have to pick another book and hope for the best there. So I suppose it bodes well that I've at least found something that I can potentially continue with, but if I do end up DNFing this, I will pick another book, but I will let you know how I got on with that. Hello, so excuse me for looking kind of rough, but my excuse for this is the same as to why I'm so far behind on my reading, and that is that since basically like before New Year's, I've had like really bad insomnia, so physically, mentally, reading progress-wise, not doing the best. Saying that, I kind of thought I would be done with this book already, one way or another. When I picked this up, I kind of assumed I would DNF it, just because I got such a different vibe from this going in, and the thing is, it's really hard for me to remember what the last thing I said to you guys was. I think it was something along the lines of, I thought the characters were going to meet in the next chapter, because they were both in the same place at the same time, and like kind of knew each other was there, and it was like a couple chapters in and I was like, okay, great, they're gonna meet and I'm gonna like know whether or not I'm gonna enjoy like their interaction, and therefore like the rest of the story. And so it turned out that didn't happen in the next chapter, or the chapter after that, or the chapter after that. It happens like 90 something pages into the book. The characters finally like meet and interact and talk, and so like I kind of told myself, not specific, like if I knew it was going to be that long I would not have read that far, but in my head I'm thinking, well they have to meet at some point. So by that point I was like, no, 100 pages in, and I was like, oh, for God's sakes, okay. And then there is like a third POV character in this who is kind of interesting but pops up like once every 100 pages, so that's great. And what I will say is like I'm so 50-50 on this. Like, here's my quandary, is that by the time I kind of pushed myself through to a point where I was like, I feel like I have to give this book a good enough go before I can say I can DNF it. Because the only thing is, there's no reason for me to actually DNF it, other than the fact that I just think this is going to be like a 3-star book, and like that's it at the end of the day. It's like, if I read a 5-star book or a 4-star book, great, it's fine. I like enough about it to keep reading, but I'm so nonplussed about everything. I'm not really invested in anything. But also at this point I'm like nearly 300 pages in, and so at this point I'm like, fuck it, I'll just finish it. Like, I'm so close to the end. I don't want to, do I really want to read like 300 pages of a book and then like just read the whole goddamn book? Like, I might as well. It's trying to redeem itself at this point. It's kind of turning into like a heist. There's like heist planning, and it's a heist thing now. It's a heist book now, and I'm like, well, I like heist books. I would have liked it if it was a heist book 200 pages ago. But at this point I'm like, okay, well look, the characters have met, all the weird world building stuff is out of the way, and we're in a heist now, and I'm like, okay, I should just be able to enjoy like the last like just short of like 200 pages. So at this point that's what I'm gonna do. I feel like if I knew it would have taken me this long, I might have just not have bothered. But the thing is, it's like I'm so far in, I might as well just finish it at this point already, and then I can at least recommend it. I feel like a lot of people would really like this book. There's nothing to dislike about it. It's just, it's fine. Like, so far it's just fine, and there's nothing really in here that's like massively to my taste. Look, I do wish that the main character was like actually a dragon all the time, but at the same time I really don't like the dragons. Whenever it like flicks back to like POVs of other dragons who are like actual currently dragons, don't care about them at all. I do not like the dragon culture or society. I don't care about any of the dragons. They don't feel dragony to me. I don't like them. They just feel like big annoying prophecy lizards, and I don't like it. Once again, why is it that so often when I get a dragon book, the thing that I like the least is the dragons? I mean, at least it's not Fourth Wing, but you know. So at this point, I will just check in when I finished it. I will just finish it, and I'll just let you guys know. And I suppose at least then I've got it off my TBR. Like, the point is to get them off my TBR, and it's off. It's Saturday now. I wanted to have this done last night, but insomnia, and like, not that, like, I'm not sleeping, so you'd think I could just be reading, but also my brain is just too dead to read sometimes, so it's been slow going, but I really want to hurry up and like finish this ASAP, because I have had this sitting around, like, spoilers, I really want to read this immediately. This is the book that I want to move on to, and it's chunky, and I want to read it in January, and I don't have long left, so that is my motivation for trying to finish this as fast as possible. That, and we also have like house viewing people coming over, so like most of my time is spent just being like about houses. I feel so dazed, I feel so tired and so out of it, but hopefully I can just like power through to the end of this book and then it's done. All 3 stars of it will be done. The next time you see me, it should be finished. Okay, so it's not the same day, as you can probably tell, but I have finally finished this book. Do you ever finish a book and your first thought immediately is just, oh thank fuck it's over? I feel like I'm being so harsh. There's nothing wrong with this book, but I just wanted it to end. I just wanted it to end so bad. Look, I already know what you're gonna say. Like, this whole thing is trying to get these books off of my TBR, and I'm supposed to be DNFing them. I'm just so not used to it, and the thing is, it's so hard for me to DNF a book when there isn't actually a reason to DNF it. Like, if the story isn't bad, if the characters aren't bad, if the writing isn't bad, but I'm like, yeah, but 3 stars isn't bad. But at the end of the day, what did I say? Straight 3 stars. It was exhausting. Like, this is so long. This is like 400 something pages. It shouldn't feel that long, but I feel like, I don't know, I just feel exhausted. I should like so much about this book, and I can appreciate a lot of what it's doing, but it just wasn't the right book for me. It was written fine, but I kind of found myself like eye rolling a bit. Like the world building is really strong, but in a way where it doesn't feel realistic. It feels disjointed. The world building feels like somebody sat down and said, I want to make a really unique feeling or different, well-realized sort of world, but it doesn't feel very tangible. It doesn't feel realistic. It doesn't feel like when I read something like The Lies of Locke Lamora, that's just like set in a city and it does the world building quite slowly, but like it feels like such a well-realized world. Like it feels like such a real tangible place where everything makes sense. This has so much, like you learn about like the history and the religion, and like there's little bits of like language in there and the magic system and like society and this disease and the things it did and like the noble hierarchy of like the class system. And at the same time I'm like, it's all there, but it kind of feels like somebody sat down and did it all separately, and like I don't know, it just doesn't feel very, like I couldn't live in this world. It doesn't feel like a very lived in world. It kind of feels like somebody making like a D&D campaign and like ticking boxes, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like just this book on paper has a lot of really good world building. In practice it just kind of feels bland. It just kind of feels like a kind of basic fantasy, but just with things like a shade or two different, or like with a few little unique things sprinkled in, but that it doesn't seem to come from like a whole. And like the dragons bore me. Every time the dragons appeared, every time we were in like the dragon world, save me. I'm so bored. I think it's because like I'm not big on prophecies. I'm not big on like, the whole thing is like about seers and prophecies and like ancient, I don't care. I already don't care. I think when I last updated I said I was kind of just clinging on because there was going to be a heist. There was a heist. It was over pretty quick. It wasn't worth reading on for, in my opinion. What I will say is I think some people would really, really like this book. I know that this is definitely going to be a really good fantasy for some people. Like, prose of this book, at all times, this book is incredibly just like gender affirming and like gender identity choice affirming. The book, like a lot of society in this book is specifically related around like when you introduce each other, you always state like your preferred gender or any or none. It's a very like accepting and inclusive society built within this world. I do kind of like the way that the magic system is tied to like this. There's kind of like a social stigma about it's like if you use too much magic, you sort of go bad. Is kind of the thing, but I think I kind of like how that was done. I just feel like it was a bit surface level. There is a lot to like in here. Oh, and the other thing is, obviously this has kind of got like I was right, it does kind of have like a kind of slow build romance. I mean, you can kind of tell from the start where this is going. I think I said when I read the synopsis that like I could tell that this is going into a romance, and part of this, it feels so 50-50. I still can't tell whether this is a YA book or an adult book. It's so hard to tell because like some of the world building and like some of the language used feels more adult, but they don't tend to swear. That's another thing, they don't tend to swear in this book. They say, oh my god, I hate it every single time. They say, instead of saying like, oh, fucking this or fucking that, first of all, just say fuck, because they say shit sometimes, so just say fuck. But they say sarding, like, oh, this sarding person, or sard off, and I'm like, okay, just say fuck. If you're gonna say shit, just say fuck. Like, you can say it. I promise your dragons can say it. It just seems so weird to me. Does it say sarding because they're not allowed to say fuck? Like, is that it? And also, every time they said it, it made me think of sardines. So that's my takeaway about that. Back to the whole romance thing. It's like, if you like a slow build romance, fair enough. What I will say is, I was so right about the dragon thing being a cop-out. Like, it's if you're looking for a dragon book, there are technically dragons in this, but like they're so boring, oh my god. But like the main dragon character, you know from the synopsis that he's trapped in the body of basically a human the whole time, which for a book about dragons is a major fucking cocktease, but like we're not gonna go there. But at the same time, there is this like slow build romance, and it feels like you've taken a dragon, and I know it's Fey romance all over again. It's basically like where you have like the powerful Fey love interest, or like a vampire love interest, or a werewolf love interest, but this time it's a dragon, and obviously they have to be in a vaguely human form. But I'm like, look, do you know what would make me respect this book more? Is if they went full on Shrek with it, and just let me really question like the mechanics of this relationship. Like, if you're gonna just go full scaly with it, like if you want me to respect your dragon romance, I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have me questioning, like, is this survivable? I feel like I would just respect it more. So I feel like this book was so back and forth. I feel like we ended almost exactly in the same position we started, and I'm just like, was it worth reading for me? No. Is this gonna be worth it for somebody else? I think so, yeah. I think somebody else would like this. I feel like if you're more invested in, like, a slow burn, I'll call it like a paranormal romance because, like, it vaguely is. It's along the same lines as, like, a fae romance, a vampire romance, a werewolf romance, a demon lord romance. It's just a dragon. Same shit, different shape. Don't know what to tell you. I kind of like the characters in the way that they're developed a little bit, but I'll be honest, I wasn't really very fond of any of them. And, like, I like thieves, I like rogues, but, like, it just wasn't doing it for me. It just wasn't doing it for me. So this was a straight 3 stars. And look, I know I've learned because for next time, what I'm gonna have to do is the next time I get a book like that in this challenge, I'm just gonna have to learn to let it go. Like, I kept giving this chance after chance after chance because, like, I could see the potential, but, like, how often do I read a book because it has a lot of potential and it just doesn't have the payoff? I'm just gonna have to give these books enough of a chance to be like, look, because if I read it the whole way through and it doesn't actually get good, then what was the point of giving it the chance in the first place? I should have stopped 100 pages in. I should have stopped that next chapter where it's like 100 pages and they'd only just met. I should have been like, fuck this. I'm out. I'm done. And I kind of wish I had been. So, also having read this, my hands have, like, wiped away so much of the foil on this, which is really annoying. So, yeah, my takeaway is, I would say if you're looking for something that's, like, a slightly older YA book that has, like, a slow burn-ish, dragon romance-ish, and that is kind of, like, modern and inclusive with, like, its, like, the gender politics of this fantasy world, then this totally might be the one for you. I think it will be interesting to a lot of people who are not me. Honestly, the way the magic system worked with, like, the thing that they wear, the seal that they wear, I feel like if that had been developed more, that might have been, like, really interesting, but it's kind of to say that there are lots of little, like, tidbits of things that might be interesting or might build to something good, but that, for me, in this book, it just wasn't enough. And, like, all the characters that I was kind of interested in, like, there were a couple other characters that weren't the, like, main 2 POV characters that I started to get interested in, but even their storylines got really boring really quick. And I will say there's, like, a twist, like, it's not really a twist, but I had begun to suspect, like, how this one other character that we were sort of seeing was, like, doing the stuff they were doing. I was like, okay, well, this better not be a twist, because you've kind of set it up as, like, if there's, like, a limited amount of things in, like, the way that your world works, and you've explained it to me in enough detail that I can say, well, knowing about your world, this would be the only way that this could happen. And then it is that, but it's treated as a twist. I was annoyed. I was annoyed because how are you going to treat something as a twist when you've given me all the parts to work it out very, very clearly and there is no other explanation? Don't make it a twist. You can make it a reveal, but, like, not like a last page reveal, the last line of the book. Don't be trying to give me a twist. It's right there. It's right there. Anyway, I have to go. I have to go because I get to pick up something else now that is not this book. I'm hoping it's going to be, like, maybe like a 4 or a 5 stars at least. Like, I'm trying to only choose books for myself that are 4 and 5 stars, and this just wasn't it. So the next time I come to do this challenge, I will know. I will just know. I even have dragon bed sheets. Like, this book had so many chances. So yeah, unfortunately, not one for me. And I knew that it wasn't, and I let myself get swept up in the fact that it was different than I assumed it would be, but not actually any better. I guess I'm Boo Boo the Fool at the end of the day. So, thank you guys for watching. I'm assuming every subsequent time that I run this challenge or, like, do a vlog like this where I pick something from the cup, I am gonna be a lot smoother about it. This being the first time, there's a lot to get out of the way, and I think we'll just say that I've learned my lesson, alright? I mean, have I? But hopefully, the next time I do this, I will have learned my lesson. I will let myself DNF books that I think are just going to be, like, 3 stars or below, right? Like, maybe it's fine, maybe there's nothing wrong with the book, but it's worth DNFing a 3 star so that I can start reading something that might be a 4 or a 5. That is going to have to be my mentality going forwards. So let me know what you thought in the comments. If you did watch this whole thing, obviously dragon emoji has to be. And I don't know, I guess my question is like, is there anything else you think I could do to like improve this? Like in terms of either like my reading experience or this challenge or anything like that. Like you guys tend to be a lot harsher than me sometimes, I think. Every time I ask something like this, you guys are always like, DNF it, get rid of it. Like, I want to be that bitch. I want to be that bitch so bad. But like, if you have any tips or anything like that or suggestions or recommendations, go ahead and let me know. And if you have any thoughts on like this book or questions, anything you might want to know, because like I don't know how well I wrap this up, just go ahead and leave me all of your thoughts. And hopefully the next time you see me, I'll be reading something better that I know what book I'm reading. I'm looking at it right now. I need Norse fantasy in my life so bad right now, so like that's where I'm going. So that's it from me. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.